With me, I have Fiona, who's worn so many hats across the market, be it customer success, enablement, GTM. So we'll get right into the conversation, Fiona.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So, Fiona, most GTM teams are addicted to fixing what broke. What happens to a revenue team that stops doing that and only studies what worked?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I talk about this a lot. I think most of us who have ever been through a really big closed loss deal, we know that everyone from, yourself, if you're a sales rep, to the sales manager, to the VP of sales, to, sometimes the CEO gets in the conversation of like, what went wrong? What's broken? What do we need to do better next time? And we're very good at looking at failure, and we're very good at looking at problems, and we're very good at inspecting and figuring out what didn't work. And I think that you miss out on a lot of opportunity and a lot of learnings when you don't look at the wins and how they happened. A lot of times I've been on so many win-loss meetings in my career, right? At the end of the quarter, we look back and the conversation around the wins is just like, woohoo, great job, high five. Yes. Right? And there's no discussion or conversation about what were the things that happened that made it a win. And we're
Yeah.
missing out on a ton of data. We're missing out on looking at the patterns. We're missing out on finding what it is about either that rep or that deal or the champion inside of that deal or all of the positives. And so when teams actually do start to inspect the wins and find the patterns, those are teachable skills that they can then translate to the rest of the team so that it's less of a focus on here's how you don't lose and more of a focus on here's how you do win.
So AI is moving faster than any revenue team can keep up with currently. So who's actually winning with it right now and what are they doing differently,
Yeah,
according to you?
that's a great question. I was just at a conference called RevFest a couple of weeks ago, and this was a big topic because I think what's been interesting in the past, let's say, year is that a lot of organizations have tried a lot of different things with AI. And it hasn't worked for a lot of reasons, whether it was focusing on solving the wrong problems or giving everybody, a Claude license and a bunch of tokens and saying, "Go do AI," right? I think what a lot of people are finding is that there needs to be structure and strategy. So the organizations that are putting in place guidelines, guardrails, um, these are the things that we want you to accomplish with AI, and these are the things that are just noise. One of the managers that I support said it in a really great way. He said, I don't want my team using AI to make a 5-minute task take 2 seconds, like writing an email. I want my team to be using AI to make a 2-hour task or a 5-hour task take 20 minutes. And I think that's a real block is um, not leveraging AI in a way that's just sloppy and easy, right? Like we're all capable of writing a good email. Or we should be, right? Right? Something like that's simple off to AI is kind of a waste because I can bang out a follow-up email to, a client in 5 minutes, and that's fine, and that's a skill that I also should maintain, right? Like, I'm able to write well and communicate. I don't need AI to do that for me, but when it comes to things like account research or putting together here's a great example. I'm hosting some workshops this week, and I built my content and then I asked Claude to make workbooks for all of the participants so that they can follow along with the content. Now, if I had done that by hand, that would have taken me hours. I actually got Claude to individualize it, put people's names on it. They're doing team assignments and stuff like that. So that would have taken me a long time, hours probably, to do by hand. But once I built the content, I could just hand it off and say, keep keep a notes section and sort of the highlights of all the content. Those are the kinds of tasks that I think are winning at a productivity level. And then I'll say one more thing. I think at a bigger scheme, companies as a whole need to be leveraging AI for their repeatable work streams from a business perspective. So take any company in the world, right? Customer buys something and you have to get from the purchase to putting the dollars in the bank account. That process in most organizations is known as order to cash or purchase to cash or something like that. There's a ton of stuff in that process that can be automated, that can be agentified, that can, only surface the exceptions or errors to a real human and let the rest of it just get processed naturally by connecting all the different systems. Organizations should be doing things like that within their business so that they can free up person power and money to reinvest in their product or do more R&D or expand the business or whatever are those things that take a lot of uh, people and money by simplifying and identifying business processes to make them faster, free up time, cash.
It's really nice to see that all industry voices are also calling out AI slop on LinkedIn. Like they're upfront talking about that it's, it's not going to work in the long run, basically.
Right. And like, I've been posting on LinkedIn for 3 or 4 years. I'm perfectly
Yeah,
capable of writing LinkedIn content. I do it all the time.
exactly. Yes.
Is it nice to use AI to, like, help me stay organized or make sure that
Yeah.
my grammar is correct? Sure, but, like, I still need to write my own content because
Yeah.
it's really obvious when you don't.
But it's really nice to see that how everyone is like again trying to get into this humanized mode compared to, this AI slop.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So winning becomes a habit, but most companies can't even tell you why they won their last 5 deals. How broken is that really?
Yeah, that's a great question, and winning becomes a habit is something I say a lot, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about how you can't figure out that habit, you can't find the patterns unless you really inspect those deals, and so I think when you see companies that don't really dig into, let's like you said, the things that won their last 5 deals,
Yeah.
there's such a missed opportunity, and I another piece that I'll add from what we were saying earlier is there are habits and there are processes that your top sales reps are running that they don't even realize they're doing. So they might have parts of their process that they've never had to write down or say out loud. After every call, I did this. Or every time I spoke with the champion, I made sure that we were still on track, that we still had, finance approval, right? All these steps that are part of their process that are so routine because they do it all the time.
Yes.
Pulling that information out of your top reps, finding out what those habits are, what those skills are, and then again, turning that around and teaching it to the rest of your organization is such an easy thing to do when you actually sit down and do it. But most organizations don't take the time because they just sort of say, "Oh, a win is a win. We don't care how it happened." That the ends justify the means. But it's really a huge miss. I think it's a huge missed opportunity across
Yeah.
most sales organizations. So it's something that I sort of am like on a crusade about, if you will.
So after 20 years, inside revenue teams, you said most people aren't stuck because they lack answers. They just don't have trust the ones they have. So where does that distrust actually come from?
Yeah, and I think this is another part of the puzzle when you think about how to make winning a habit. We have a tendency, and I think this is just sort of like the society that we live in and the age that we live in, and I think this especially affects women. But we've sort of lost the ability to trust our own instincts or come to a decision or an answer or a conclusion. How should I move forward on this deal? Should I hire another sales rep if I'm a sales leader? We have these questions floating around in our mind, these problems that we want to solve. We come up with a solution or an answer on our own, and then for some reason, we have this tendency not to trust that by itself, right? We always want to go ask somebody else or get another opinion or research it some more and double check our own answer. And I think a lot of times we've really lost this ability to trust our instinct. And so the challenge that I pose to people that feel like they're in a state where they really don't trust their own instinct is roll back the tape, right? Look at your own data, look at your own decisions. And in those decisions where maybe you got that like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. Oh,
Yeah.
like you feel it in your stomach, literally. Um, and then you did it anyway, even though you had this instinct that it wasn't the right choice. How did that work out? Most of the time, you'll find if you look back, when you have that instinct that this was a bad choice, it doesn't work out. And then the opposite is true too. When you're deciding who to hire and you've got like 3 candidates, and if I'm a sales leader and I'm telling you about one of the candidates and I sit up and I sit forward and I get excited, right, that's all information saying this feels like the right decision. And then I go hire that person and they turn out to be fantastic. That is also data. So I really encourage people to, like I said, roll back the tape and check, are my own instincts something I can trust? And the data will tell you you can.
Wow, I love that because I think nowadays instilling that motivation is so important because if you did it all the while, of course you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing something new this season. It's called Hot Take or Hard Truth.
Ooh,
I'm
I love
gonna throw a few, yeah, I'm gonna throw a few statements at you, and you gotta tell me if it's a hot take, as in would people push back at it, or is it a hard truth, something that people don't talk out loud.
Yeah. Okay,
So
I'm ready. I like this.
yeah, yes, let's go. So first one is most sales kickoffs are the most expensive way a company can avoid having a real conversation about what's actually broken. What is it like for you? Is it a hot take or a hard truth?
Ooh. Okay, this might be controversial. I think this is a hard truth because I think a lot of organizations use sales kickoff, revenue kickoff, go-to-market kickoff, whatever you wanna call it. They use it as like a big rah, rah, we're gonna do all this cool stuff this year, and everything is like new and flashy and forward looking. And I think a lot of organizations don't use sales kickoff as a time to work on things that are not working. So if we know, like, this is a silly one, but let's say we know from the past year that Salesforce hygiene was terrible and like our RevOps team spent all this time cleaning up the data. That gets swept under the rug for sales kickoff and nobody talks about like, hey, one of our goals this coming year is
Yeah.
data hygiene. No, like there's nothing um helpful about pushing that under the rug and then you just move forward with all these new ideas and you still have the same bad habits, you're not going to win. So I would say it's a very expensive way to ignore the problems in the business.
So the second one, revenue teams don't have an AI problem. They have a trust problem, and AI just made it more visible. Hot take or hard truth?
I think this is a hot take because I think I still believe that people will always buy things from people. And I agree that there are some trust problems between sellers and buyers right now, but I don't know that AI is really what caused that. But it could be like I'm back and forth on this one. So I think it's a hot take. We might need to put that one out online and see what people say.
And the last one is that winning once means nothing. The only teams worth building are the ones who can tell you exactly why they won, and they do it again. Hot take or a hard truth?
Yeah, I think this one's a pretty easy one for me. This is definitely a hard truth. Um,
Okay.
teams that just win and move on, like we were saying earlier, they're not getting there's no benefit, like, that win didn't teach anything, and so it's kind of meaningless, but the teams that go back and inspect and look at what makes a good win and keep doing it, they are gonna be, the rocket ship. So I think that's a hard truth for sure.
Awesome. Really, really loved your take on all these questions and the hot take and the hard truth, especially.
Love it. This has been
Yeah.
so fun. Thank you so much, Natty, for having me on.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much as well for, taking time out and doing this.
Absolutely.